Was I on mute the whole time? Okay, welcome. Happy Friday. It's one of those weeks. I've had a crazy, actually probably not even 2 days here. But I know I said that I wasn't going to be going live for Power Hour. But here I am. And shout out to everyone in the chat tuning in. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from, city, state, country. I'll read some off here. London, Chicago. How's it going? Stefan, Crest, Dave, Hanif. London, Ontario. I was just around there. I was just around your hood. Marco, how's it going? New Jersey. Yes, we got a lot to talk about, a lot to catch up on. I know I made that quick catcher-upper video yesterday, but I think there's a lot to talk about otherwise as well. And the stock market's actually doing really well, surprisingly enough. Martin, how's it going from New York? So I tweeted this out yesterday. I said, I'm convinced people on the East Coast are nicer than people on the West Coast. I just had this realization. They're just a little bit more blunt and straightforward. But I actually genuinely think there's more nice people on the East Coast. And I'm going to get some hate for that. Chi-Town, how's it going, Abe? Yes, we're going to talk about China news. We're going to talk about macro. We're going to talk about Investors Day. We're going to watch CNBC's reaction to it. And we're going to talk also about Giga Mexico. How's it going? And you know what I'll do? So I see everyone tuning in and throwing in their city, state, countries. I'll read them off here in a second. Let me just share what happened. So I wasn't supposed to be going live. And pardon me, my phone's going to be just buzzing because the NHL trade deadline is actually happening right now. And so I'm hoping that the Canucks trade some people. But anyways, so I went to Toronto, get there, had a good afternoon, evening, right? And then I get word that Friday, aka today, there's supposed to be the biggest snowstorm of the year. Just my timing, because Saturday morning was when we're scheduled to leave. I did some quick Googling and I realized that, hey, if Friday is supposed to be like 20 centimeters of snow and it's supposed to be Friday night, there's a really high likelihood that Saturday morning is going to be an absolute disaster at Pearson International. And so rather than risking getting pushed and then missing Monday, as you guys know, I'm back in the office on Monday. We had to make the executive decision to come home last night. So last night, within 30 hours of leaving, man, I hate planes already. We had to come back. We just had to. And so if you live in the Toronto area, please let me know how the snowstorm is shaping up to be. And hopefully we made the right decision of ditching and not getting delayed, because I swear to God, that Pearson Airport is notorious for all the bad headlines that come out of it. No offense if you work there. Wellington, New Zealand, Nunavut. Mark, how's it going, my friend? Our friend from Nunavut, I love it. And maybe we get our friend from Greenland as well. Waltham, Massachusetts, there we go. Ben from Sweden, how's it going? Carl Sham, hopefully I pronounced that right. Marco, that was the NASDAQ. 199.87 cent on Tesla. Stockholm, Sweden, Liverpool, how's it going? Michael from Australia, or Austria, there we go. Norway, appreciate that, Stephen. Yes, absolutely. Like I had to. And you guys know, one of the things I have on my note for the live stream today is to inform you, in case you aren't aware already, Power Hour moving forwards are not going to be on Friday Power Hour time anymore. They're going to be ad hoc, probably on the weekend, maybe late evening during the weekdays if there's news coming out. And so the only real schedule you can follow is if you hit subscribe and you hit the notification bell to get alerted when I schedule these live streams. And of course, if you're on Discord, I always ping everyone on Discord or Patreon through Discord first. So feel free to join us there. Tuscan, Danbury, how's it going? Wolfgang from Germany, Washington, Orlando, Los Angeles. Did I see how drunk Sandy was? Okay, well, so we'll talk about Investors Day. But here's one of the side effects that happened with Investors Day. I was flying during Investors Day, and then I was traveling and I got home, Ubering, and it was just jet lagged, and I was just like not wanting to like walk and find directions and listen to Investor Day at the same time. So I put a lot of it off. And it seems like the feedback I got off Twitter was, hey, yeah, good job. Because Investors Day, there was a real split decision. And actually, that'll be the first question in the chat that I'll present to you now. Investors Day, rate it from scale of 1 to 10. 10 being the best event ever. You're really happy that you invested your hours into the event, and 1 being the polar opposite. Where do you fall on that scale of Investors Day? Because it seems like it's very polarizing what happened. Midwest is nicer. I need to go to the Midwest. It's on the list, actually. Amsterdam, how's it going? Missouri, Bahadur, Alexandria, Minnesota. There we go. Our honorary Canadians. French people in the South are much nicer than in the North. New Zealand, Denmark, Fort Collins, Colorado, Fort Lauderdale. How's it going, Faisal? Stockholm, Switzerland, Leduc, Alberta. Well, you must be happy with the Oilers' moves lately, I'm guessing, Adam. Amsterdam, of course, Marco. Germany, Yorkshire, Assyria. Wow, welcome. Sweden, Montreal, Whitesboro. Let me bang through these. Colorado Springs, Yuma, Arizona. How's it going, Scott? Stormy weather incoming. Yes. Well, good to hear that I was right. North Carolina. Abby says, what am I going to do on Friday? What am I going to do on Friday now? Well, I'll still be around, of course, on Discord, probably chatting up for breaking news on my lunch or whatever. But yeah, I'll be doing more after hours live streams, and I know that actually works a lot better for a lot of North American people watching. I know my friends in Europe are gonna probably hate the late live streams, especially mostly because of the time zone difference. But I'll do more weekend stuff too, I think. So like Sunday in preparation for the week. That's just where my head's at currently at the moment. And again, I'll still be on Twitter and Discord and all that sort of stuff. Scotland. Okay, so here we're getting to the portion of the chat where you guys were rating investors. 11 out of 10. 8, 8, 6, 9, 7, 8, 8, 9, 11. There we go. Okay. So 1, 3, 10. So I would say above average in terms of expectations are 5, 9. Sandy wasn't right. 3, 9. Okay. So info 8, presentation 4. Interesting feedback there, Anthony. 4 out of 10, 8, 9. So I would say the average, just very mathematically speaking here and totally scientific, is probably like a 6.89, something like that. Barbados. Yeah, so it's actually a lot higher than the feedback that I'm seeing, quite honestly, on Twitter, it seems like. So here's the general feedback, I think. I think Tesla made expectations a little bit higher by specifically talking about Gen 3 platform. When they said the Gen 3 platform, I think people thought, we saw expectations out there of, hey, look, it's going to be that new model unveiling. People are going to, Tesla's going to start taking pre-orders and they're going to be coming out in a couple months. Expectations were too high on retail. Now, on the other side of the coin, it is also true that retail really doesn't do anything on Tesla stock specifically, especially short-term folks. As I sit here, 199.92 sitting on Tesla, the market cap of Tesla 632 billion, right? Like nothing's happening with a couple of retail investor plebs like us doing anything, right? Especially, it's just it's not really in sync all the time either. So whether we like it or not, retail expectations really have nothing to do with the weakness that we saw today, and also, I guess, the strength that you can talk about today. Because check out this chart, and shout out to Royce for posting this on our Discord. Talking Tesla on Twitter posts this. What happens to Tesla events with respect to Tesla stock? Below is a list of all the Tesla events over the last 5 years and what happened to the stock leading up to the days and after. And as you can see here, a lot of these are nothing burger days, if not red, right? There's a couple of really green days post, right? That I can show. Hold on, actually, let me bring this down a little bit so I can show you the headline on this. Okay, there we go. So as you can see here, 5 days prior, the average move is 1.5% up. 5 days after or day after is usually nothing burger, only 29 basis points down. And then you'll see here, 5 days after is a 1.7% move up, which is nothing, really. I mean, like, quite honestly, it's nothing. So all that really proves to me is that we see option premium for Tesla go through the roof. And I'll look at option premium right now. Next week's option chain, 199.36, let's just say $200 is at the money on Tesla. So $200 at the money is six. So you can buy an at the money call for about $650. You can buy an at the money put for about the same. So let's say about $13 worth of premium baked in for next week. Now, I'd have to check what that premium was prior to the event, but it definitely wasn't where it's at now. A lot of premiums got sucked out of this. So only 6.5% of an expected move for next week. It was, I think, 13% last power hour. So if anything, the only thing that is consistent with Tesla events and the stock is that usually premium is drained. We don't really see outsized big moves. The largest big move that I can see here the day after is the shareholders call in 2018, where it moved up 14%. There was a down this January, or last January, we know it went down 13% after earnings. And of course, this January up 10% the day after. But really, I mean, for the most part, they net out to be nothing, right? So that's why, in terms of stock expectations, I don't think it's healthy really enough to take that into consideration. Steven says, I rated a 10. I was crying at joy at sometimes. Well, I mean, I guess let me know in the chat. And if you want to hop on stream, feel free to. I will throw a StreamYard link in there if you want to call into the show and give your feedback on Tesla Investor Day, good, bad, ugly, whatever you feel like sharing. I threw that in the chat. But I want to hear mostly from you folks in terms of what you thought, because I didn't watch the entirety of it. And so I'm kind of coming in green and taking kind of secondary sources to really get an eyeball of kind of what the general perception of this was. So it'd be cool to get people on that either loved it, hated it, indifferent. Let's hear your opinion. Martin says it was more of a manufacturing day than an investor day. I think Emmett Pepper said it quite well as well. He said it was more of a Tesla education day is what he called it. And I think that probably makes that made a lot of sense to me as to why the expectations were off. Steven says, or Stefan says, I found the lack of enthusiasm disturbing. It wasn't like, hey, we're changing the world here. Interesting. I thought it was kind of the opposite with, I was listening to Meet Kevin's video last night, or his rant the other day, and he was summarizing it in a way that made it sound like that. John says, in my mind, it was a 9.5. Best point for me was effectively putting the rest, casual/unaware of the world, on notice, turning a, quote, good idea into a massive plan of execution, expansion, and innovation. I think that was their plan. I mean, Elon quite literally walked it back a little bit, and he said the other day, look, this is going to be investors for the general public. Like, he quite literally said it would be for anyone that cares about the world. So I think that's great feedback. 1.2 million views on Tesla stream. Actually, it's got to be higher than that now. Let me just pull that up. What is that? Tesla Investors Day. Let's pull up the YouTube video. It's got to be higher than 1.2 at this point. What? Wow. Tesla doesn't even rank number one. CNBC ranks number one for their own video. Interesting. Tesla Daily. Okay, so here's Tesla Investors Day stream. Currently sitting at 1.2. That's actually not that much. One little YouTube insider thing I'll point out to everyone is that the view count really is not accurate, especially for live streams. It's very much lagging. So whatever views you see here, you could probably multiply it. Well, you can probably pad it up with another 30%, I would say, because live stream views, for whatever reason, YouTube is very lagging on in terms of reporting, at least on the public page. I do find it funny that Tesla actually doesn't rank number one in videos. It's CNBC Laura Claudney ranks number one, actually. So YouTube doesn't even SEO preference itself. That actually makes no sense. Google, what are you doing? Okay. What else? So next on my list, so I pulled up the chart. So Giga Mexico. So we just got word today. I'll pull up the Twitter handle here. So Matthew Donegan Ryan actually has an exclusive. He spoke with Tom Zhu at Investor Day. He says, I'm convinced that he will be Tesla's next CEO after Elon. He's charismatic, succinct, incredibly intelligent, and acts with great sense of urgency, and will be our Tim Cook. I know some of you guys are not gonna like that saying right there, but we shall read into this because it's getting a lot of love, rightfully so. Let me throw it a like. So number one, Gen 3 platform will be built in Mexico first, then they will copy and paste the production over to new gigafactories. The first Gen 3 vehicle will roll off production line in 18 to 24 months. Okay. And by the way, before anyone jumps the gun and says, look, Yash, you can't really listen to rumors. First of all, I agree. Just the whole point of the show is to talk about rumors, right? But number two is that it is coming from Tom Zhu, which I would say carries a little bit more weight, no offense, than Elon time. Next, Matthew says, I asked if the Gen 3 platform will be painted or stainless steel, and he smirked and said, paint is expensive. So it looks like stainless steel stamping is probably the way to go. Giga Mexico will be built at the same time as another Giga. Wrong answers only in the chat. Wrong answers only in the chat. What is the other secret Giga here? The Gigafactory that's not Giga Mexico. Wrong answers only. Throw that in the chat. All Gigafactory architecture, design, and construction is to be done in-house. Shanghai ramped faster than Austin and Berlin because Shanghai copied Fremont's production, and Austin and Berlin had to figure out their structural battery pack. The benchmark for rolling Model Ys off production lines is 45 seconds. Current time in China is 37, Berlin 55 seconds, and Austin 75 seconds. Midnight Cherry and Quicksilver cannot be produced in Austin's paint shop, and there's no plan to change that. Folks, that Quicksilver, it's just too good. Giga Liverpool, Tuvalu, Iceland, Antarctica, Chicago. Someone's going to take offense to that. Moscow, Ottawa, Giga Disney, Switzerland, Vatican City. Nice. I like that one. Giga Mars. Hey, Vatican City could essentially 10x in order of magnitude higher their economy by doing that, right? Giga Hawaii has actually come up a lot. Okay, but the main part of this Twitter thread that I want to highlight here is actually, no, I don't even know if I missed it or not, but it's right here. Let me just read the headline. Tesla is aiming to build Giga Mexico in just 9 months while building another Gigafactory at the same time. Folks, that 9 months of Giga Mexico stands out massively. Of course, we are a little bit jaded here with Austin and Berlin taking as long as they have after Shanghai. I think some people were like, oh, Shanghai is going to be fast and then Austin and Berlin are going to be faster. But look, this is not China. Mexico, though, it does seem like there's a possibility it could be in line with what's happening here with China. So really epic here in terms of what's happening. I think it was just about, well, they might not have been done, but I think the first few cars were coming out by the 9 to 12-ish months. Giga Nicaragua, Giga OnlyFans. Okay, so that's some massive news there to hear from Tesla that Giga Mexico should be up and running within. And by the way, I know everyone's going to say in the chat, look, it's Elon time. And I get it. I am generally on board with discounting that. But this apparently is coming from Tom Zhu. And I'm not sure about you, but to me, I think I take that a little bit more credible in terms of timeline. I'm not sure if I'm just being mistaken there by thinking that way, but I think so. Okay, I will throw in the chat again the StreamYard link, but we have, hold on, Bahadir waiting here in the background. Let me just pin this message here. Actually, hold on. Let me just join the call. I'm just going to pin that here on the stream. So if you want to come on, you want to call into the show, feel free to. The link is now officially pinned up. It's right there. But without further ado, let's bring in our first guest of the show, friend of the show, longtime friend of the show, Bahadir. How's it going, my friend?
Good. You are looking healthy as well, Yashu.
Oh, thank you, my friend. Yeah, I was actually scared yesterday. It's funny you say that because I was coming back from the plane and I started having like a little bit of a cough. I was like, you can't tell me I'm going to get sick twice in 2 weeks. This can't be happening. But
Yeah.
But I'm good.
I highly recommend cold showers. That's the big problem solver. If you can manage it, I think
I need to start.
I highly suggest. Yeah, I mean, what a event! I think for the Tesla. I think a lot of people were expecting some announcements, but I think the investor day, also the world, as Elon mentioned, that I think they exactly gave what they wanted us to hear, especially to convert the 2030 numbers that they have been telling for a while. And they basically laid out the plan in almost in as much as detail that how they are going to reach it. Because as you know, there's a simple demand curve, and then after $35,000, that every bracket that you go, there's such a big increase, more than I think exponential. And I think if they can able to hit $25,000 or number that is similar to that,
it's massive.
It is gonna be nuts. And the beauty of that thing is that, like, Tesla, I think, intentionally holding almost the gantry and the compact car development in order to maximize the sales of the current Model 3 and Y and Cybertruck, because of, I think it's called the Osborne effect, right? So if you have gonna build, I mean, in general, I really like the details. I wrote in Twitter that it was quite detail and show the maturity of the company, right? I've never seen a company doing a presentation like this to all these like departments coming together and then telling what they think is the right what's going on and what do they want to talk about. So what do you think?
Would you say the expectations were in line? Like, it sounds like you had pretty healthy expectations for this event. Would you say, generally speaking, anecdotally at least, expectations might have been too high on the retail side or misguided a little bit for this event? Would you agree that that was the case? Or in your network, do you feel like mostly everyone was on page with what happened?
Well, I think we might have an overlapping network, but I think there was quite a bit of hype that I think a lot of people expected to see the Model 2, because Elon was also like what's that? Tau is bigger than pi, all these things, and then like people are like, yeah, like we are gonna see something, and then you just see something that the covered with,
covered with whatever that photo,
the
right?
sheet,
That,
yeah.
Well, look, I think Tesla is very basic. When they're going to unveil a product, they'll tell you. I mean, the Cybertruck wasn't an unveiling. Everyone knew it was going to be unveiling. For some reason, it seems like every other event since then, everyone is trying to jump the gun on Tesla announcing something randomly. I'm sticking to my story that Tesla's best interest is not to announce anything until they start delivering this Cybertruck. Like, let's get this Cybertruck in people's hands before we start talking about another model that people are going to generally be like, hey, well, what about this one? What about the Roadster? Like, everyone's going to point to these cars and be like, hey, what about these? Like, let's not talk about another model now. So I think Tesla is definitely playing the book quite well and saying, look, and this is my guess, that they're saying, look, let's deliver the Cybertruck this summer and this fall or whatever, end of year, and let's get it into the hands and let's put away all the naysayers that are like, hey, this thing doesn't exist. And then let's talk about a new model, for God's sakes. All the millions of people waiting for this Cybertruck are impatient. They're talking about the pricing not being updated. They know they're not getting their $40,000 Cybertruck. It's going to be like $60,000 minimum. And for them to announce another model already with pricing and asking for pre-orders would just be a little bit premature. And I think that's perfectly awesome for Tesla not to have done that. And it seems like for some reason, every event that we get into, and it's just us getting excited as investors and long-term people, that we're like, hey, obviously we're missing something because Elon likes, giving us hints and not giving us the full story. And, the stock split was in his tweet. And so we have this kind of conspiracy theory mind a little bit. But it seems like the best way to read Tesla moving forward now is like they're very by the book corporate. The IR and the investor relations team, Martin, is doing a great job of just setting expectations properly. Like, what they say is what they're going to do. I think like that's what the message they're trying to send is. Like, they're not trying to give us little hints here and there. But like you said, the Investors Day was a great macro overarching look. This is where we're headed longer term. And the people that didn't like it, I'm guessing, really were hoping for a shorter term at like this timeline. I guess we did get one with Mexico 9 months away, but like they were looking for that general, like that dopamine hit, which I don't think you really get from a short-term plan, or you don't get that from talking decades. Like, no one really gets dopamine hits from talking decade-long plans. Like, people get dopamine from talking about next month's unveiling or something, right?
Yeah, I think there is also a bit of a cause and an effect that like a lot of Wall Street analysts still cannot figure out how Tesla is gonna, even I think after the Tesla Investor Day, because they want to see more concrete stuff, that to see, okay, like Model 2, it's going to be out, let's say in 2024, like very concrete things. And then this is how it's going to look like, right? I mean, they can also show a sketch, right? But they are intentionally not doing it.
Yeah.
And then from there on, they are going to say, okay, like, let's feel how people are thinking about this car. Like, are they going to be interested? And then they are going to open their lovely spreadsheets and then going to say, okay, we are expecting this amount of reservations for the upcoming years, and this can be the ramp, right? And here is a price target that may be a bit, even like Alex Adam Sandler, I mixed all of these, like one of these, like
Alex Potter.
Potter, or maybe like the other company. Anyways, like they are expecting like 10 million cars in 2030, and Tesla just keeps on saying like 30% CAGR for this year. I'm like, okay, like are you, what is this like? Then there is a belief, I guess, that hey, you know, Tesla has these crazy numbers, but
Yeah.
they are probably not going to sell twice or three times the amount of cars. I think I saw in Stephen Mark Rice's channel that when he divided the numbers, I think maybe there needs to be like 5 million something Model 2 ish car needs to be sold, right? And just because of these like things, there is nothing concrete. They are like stuck in this mode of increasing the prices like $20 and like, hey, you know, we will wait for whatever months. I think in the last Twitter thread that you show, they're expecting with maybe like up to 3 months to start unveiling the what they going to start building there.
Yeah. So, but like what you say is important, because what the Toyota Corolla, I just looked it up, does about 1.12 million units per year. The RAV4 does about 800. So let's say together they do about 2 million. So about a million each. What Tesla is saying they're gonna want to do here is, I mean, nothing short of crazy for the regular automaker modeler, the regular analyst that looks at the industry and goes, wait, what? You want to 5x, 10x these numbers with a couple of models? How is that going to work? And of course, what they miss is that's very much what Apple has done, right? Apple has the iPhone, has different trim levels, doesn't really focus on too many SKUs, and really focuses on 4 or 5 different products that work really well and make them at mass production at a low cost and give people the software ability to be able to change stuff within the car. And I think having that aspect of customizability with software is just, it's just incomprehensible still. And of course, we all talk about interior design, exterior, and I think there's something to be said about having geo-specific models on the same platform, because people in China, like Tom Zhu has this video out, I tweeted it out. Tom Zhu has this video out and he says, people in China are, like they want a Chinese looking car that they can be like, this is our national looking car. We know what a Japanese car looks like. We even know what an American car looks like, more of a pickup style, like boxy type, right? So every geo wants their own car to call home. And I think what Tesla has painted here is said, look, we have the general platform to work everything off of. We don't know the specifics of how the exact models and the geos are going to work, but we know that the general infrastructure is going to be there and it's going to generally follow this manufacturing process. And from there, we can be customizable and not really worry about it. And I think another thing to take into consideration is Tesla doesn't know everything yet with their new model or with their new models, because they want to take feedback from the Cybertruck. Obviously, like what company would not want to first take feedback from the Cybertruck, because it's going to generally be made in the same way that I think the next model is going to be made, stainless steel. And they're going to take that feedback, and maybe some people really don't like the really sharp edges. Maybe this deteriorates quite fast, and they're going to be, it's going to take years for that information to come through. And last thing Tesla wants to do is, before they even have Cybertrucks in the hands of people, to make declarative statements about their next model using the same technology without them learning first from the Cybertruck and getting into the hands of people. So I think, people just need to calm down. We know it's coming. I'm still really, and I know FSD, some people are going to beat me in the chat to this, but I think with Cybertruck, I just think I'm so focused on Cybertruck because it's just so tangible and it's coming, hopefully, cross my fingers, this year.
Yeah, I think what you are saying very correct, and that must be the assumption that we can build on, that there will be so many similarities of, let's say, new technology or perspective in terms of what will happen also in Model 2 compared to Cybertruck, right? Then they are going to take these learnings and then see what is working or not working, perhaps, right? I think even Model 2, like just selling a gray, exactly same looking car to everyone, there will be, I think, quite a bit of a question marks raised that, hey, you know what? Okay, it's nice to own a cheap Tesla, but if all the Model 2s are looking exactly the same with everyone, that's going to be such a mess. And like, I guess you can paint the car or like put a coating or like what's a PPF, perhaps. I don't know, right? So that's a very much unknown. But like, since Tesla is playing a bit like a behind the couch in this scenario, to not to exactly say what they are going to do, then I think it almost feels like a roadster scenario, right? Like, yeah, in the future, maybe we will do this. Okay, maybe there is no maybe in Model 2, but still,
Yeah.
we don't even know the name of the model, right? It's like,
No.
I'm like, okay, like why? But with
Yeah.
all, I think, these obscure things that for analysts or people who are looking at the future and they are not part of the Tesla world, and
Yeah.
I will also say they don't perhaps trust what is being said or communicated by Tesla, then they are taking quite a bit of a large of a grain of salt and then say, you know what, let's just play the safe game here. We are not ARC or Pierre Forger's firm, so let's just like Dan Hives, every week, every couple of weeks, we can just go to the CNBC and then talk about and maybe raise the price.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the safe game. But
yeah.
I think if you are part of engineering, and I am a software background, and when I heard whatever I heard from what Tesla is doing, like the amount of different software application, like they built their own ERP system from ground up, right? Everything that Tesla, I think, in the factories and things, they are using their own software. Even their recruitment, they even rewrote the recruitment software for themselves, right?
True.
They built these 3D design tools, and then in Amsterdam, for example, I think I mentioned this before, they are hiring engineers for the auto bidder, which they are going to probably expand even more markets and then add more features. Like there is like 17 maybe like software companies inside Tesla, which can be easily like sold individually. Yeah, for me, it's such a, I think, such an even a better picture than throwing numbers, right? We see what the other companies do, like Lucid or Rivian, like GM, like we are going to build 17 different models and sell 17 million cars on a past Tesla. Like, talking it easy, but yeah.
Agreed. Well said. Thank you, Bahadir, for coming on. That was awesome. Great conversation. I have other people to get to on the chat, but as always, my friend, great to have you.
Thank you very much. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Some love for Bahadir in the chat, please. That was great. Yes, and Alex says people don't care about phones looking the same. That's fair. Exactly. And of course, people deck out their phones and have cases and all that stuff, and cars might be a little bit different to that. But I would even say that cars are even more utilitarian than phones are. I mean, maybe that's just me speaking, and all I really look at is it from transportation A from B. But yes. Okay. Remember, pinned comment is if you want to join the streamer link here. Let's get to our next guest here. Abe, you might have to unmute yourself, I think there. But how's it going, my friend?
Very good. Yeah, sure. Good to see you back.
Thank you.
Too bad you had to cut short your trip, but
I know.
I shed a few tears that we won't be seeing you on Friday, but look forward to seeing you on the weekends.
Yes. I appreciate that.
And then good luck with you, whatever you're starting on Monday. So
thank you.
The best.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that. And it's gonna be more ad hoc, but you know what? I'm gonna embrace it because I think when news comes out, it doesn't usually follow a Friday schedule, anyways. So it's gonna be nice to be able to go live for 20 minutes, 25 minutes here and there all the time. Might not be a full hour. The one thing I will miss is watching the stock too much and overanalyzing it. That's the only thing.
Yeah, because you will not be able. You will be sitting on Tesla over the weekend because it's not gonna move. So yeah. So I know there are other people you got to get to. So I think 2 or 3 comments, right?
Sure.
So of course, the Investors Day was hyped up pretty much by everybody, not by you. I think you're more measured in your praise and criticism. I see that, and that's why I like your show a lot. But so it was hyped, and I think I got. So I think there is the Elon, what he says, and then there is what the hyperbull says. So I think the truth is somewhere in the middle and more to the side of Elon. I think that's one comment. Okay. I'm not going to fall into that trap again. I think because for me, the Investor Day was, I think, a couple of things. Like, I'll give you an example. What Tom Zhu just said to whoever the guy was on Twitter.
Right.
Why didn't Elon just say that in the Investor Day? About, how the Monterey factory in Mexico is going to produce at a high capacity. I don't know if he said that or not, but that would have been just great to know that stuff, right? Second is, for me, the most important part is, if we want to get to the 20 million mark, how do you get to 20 million? You need to have the compact car, 25K, 30K.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, as Elon's talked about, the problem with Tesla demand is affordability, not the desire. So very well put by him. So the desire is there by a lot more people
Yeah.
to buy a Tesla, but they can't afford it, and that is solved by the compact car, right? How, as an investor, and I'm no big investor, but as an investor, I would like to see a roadmap or a path on how you get to 20 million. When does the compact car come in? Maybe not answering all the questions, but that would be nice, right? Right now, they're basically saying, take our word, we'll make 20 million. Um, that's the part I
Yeah.
struggled with. I'm like, yeah, 20 million sounds good, but isn't compact probably 40-50% of the cars that will sell
I
to
think
get there?
so. Yeah.
But anyway,
Is it,
uh,
do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible? Sorry to interrupt. Do you think it's possible that Elon wants us to see that Tom Zhu has some of the more tangible answers and us to kind of lean on him moving
oh,
forward a little bit more moving forward? And so wait, not to phase him out, because I don't think Elon's ever going to be phased out.
correct.
It's his company. But do you think maybe Elon looks at this as an opportunity for Tom to start taking some more of the general pointed questions and more of the plan and kind of run with it in the general retail space, so people rely on his saying a little bit more than what Elon has to say? Because Elon, he's a visionary. He's a long-term, decade-long thinker. He doesn't really, for the most part, care about little weeks worth of plans here and there. Like even quarters, I don't think he cares much about it. So he thinks in decade longs. And sometimes the problem that visionaries can have is that they're really bad at logistics and really bad at focusing on the short term. They always are looking at the long term. So maybe could it be possible that Elon is just reserved on more of the pointed directions on the short term plans because he just wants Tom to take rein on that a little bit?
I think, guys, if anybody's listening right now, this is why we tune into this podcast. What I didn't even think about that's a great point. You're
Mm.
absolutely right. And now when I reflect back, I think this is the first time there were a lot more speakers. They usually have one or two guys talking through the stuff. They are like 8 or 10 of them. So I think Elon is spreading the love of leadership across and showcasing that. And now that you talk about Tom Zhu, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm going to give you a new name. I think your new name is Gandalf. I think
I wish I could fully appreciate that reference, but as you may not know, but I don't watch very many movies, but I think I know he's
a
from
lot of the
Lord of the
rings.
Rings. Yes, yes,
I,
yes, yes, of course.
I don't even watch that movie. I just know the character. I hate
Okay.
any of this sci-fi stuff. But that's a part. But Gandalf, Google it. It's a compliment. Trust me.
Okay,
Uh,
thank you.
the last comment I have is just on on the Tesla stock. I have come to the conclusion that if you are like a trader, Tesla stock's volatility can be you can really, what's the word I'm looking for? Take advantage of the Tesla stock's volatility. It went from freaking 186 to
Yeah.
200 within a day. And this
Hmm.
has happened multiple times. Part of me says, buy the dip, sell it at a high price, and wait for the next dip, and you can just make a decent amount of money. And that's my 2 cents. I think it's making more and more. It never kind of just goes in the straight line up or completely down, except what happened last year. Um, yeah, but generally speaking, the swings are just amazing. That's all.
It
That's all I
it
had.
Thank you. But yeah, no, I agree. It's a day trader's like best friend, Tesla stock, with the
Yeah,
momentum that it can carry. The problem is, unless you're really micro trading, the problem at least for me is like when Tesla wants to run, it can run for like any other mega cap to go from 300 billion to 650 billion to where it's at right now within a month and a half, 2 months to start the year is
yeah,
just absolutely insane. Like you just don't see these types of moves for mega cap stocks. Now the question is like when Tesla was at 100 and it rallied 30% and went to 130 or 140, I mean, a smart mind would have been like, well, look, we just rallied 30% in a week. Obviously, it might make sense to sell some premium here. And I think a lot of people did. And then what ends up happening is when Tesla's kind of like that, it's kind of like the Titanic, right? You can't really stop it once it's going either way, up or down. And so that's the problem, is that there's premium to be made, especially with selling premium, for example, as a strategy in short term. There's a lot of premium to be made, but but the reason is because the market is trying to price in the fact that this thing might not stop going up. It might not stop going down. And that's the risk that I have a hard time, at least, especially if you're holding for, like, if you're planning to hold for multiple weeks in a row. It's just, who knows, one Elon tweet could send this thing, it could really U-turn this thing. So, but there is a lot of money to be made.
Yeah. So when you talk about premium, you mean in terms of options, or because the term premium is up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Options,
So
yeah.
I do a decent amount of selling of options, like covered calls and puts, mostly on Tesla. I am saying I want to actually move away from that and do more of DCA stuff. And if it goes above certain range, then sell, have some cash, and even if it goes further, don't cry. That's okay. Somebody else will make money. That's fine. But yeah, so that's all I had. It's good to see you back, Yashu, and all the best.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it, Abe. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. Shout out to Abe for coming on. Appreciate that. Very nice words from Abe. Let me just actually turn off my ticker here. 1 second. 197.80 sitting on Tesla. Looks like we're dipping a little bit to close the day. I'm going to pull up options and the order flow as well, just to take into consideration. What's interesting, actually, if you take a look at this, and we'll do our Tesla closing price guessing game here in a couple of seconds after we watch our CNBC video. But if you look at the options order flow, a lot of options activity to end the week here. Both call buying and put buying. More net call buying happening here to end the day. But I mean, a lot of premium getting bought into close here. So it seems like people are expecting a move up or down, but a move to happen here next week. I'm not entirely sure why this is happening, but it's something to keep an eye on at the very least. Let's take a listen to, and I posted the streamer link again. Remember, it's pinned here. But what we'll do in the meantime is let's take a listen to Phil LeBeau and what he has to say about Tesla stock or Tesla Investor Day here happening. And what we'll do is, while we're watching this, please throw into the chat your Tesla closing price guess. Remember, Price is Right rules. You have to be at or under to win the virtual Juju prize, which I'll throw at you through the camera here. Okay, let's take a listen.
After last night's Investor Day, Musk not provide.
Let me know if the audio is coming in clear. And after we watch this, we'll get to Tony here. I see.
Providing much detail on the EV maker's next generation car. The company did, though, say it would no longer use rare earths metals in its EV motors, sending shares of mining company MP Materials down by almost 11%. For more on all of this, let's get to Phil LeBeau. A lot of very interesting visions presented yesterday, Phil, but no timelines attached to anything.
Grand visions. Melissa, this is what happens when you hold an investor day and you give very few details with benchmarks in terms of we plan to hit this on this date at some point in the future. What they gave everybody was how they plan to disrupt the automotive industry over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And yes, in the grand vision sense, they gave a lot of details about what they hope to do, what they plan to do. It comes down to really three things. First of all, lower costs. They're going to drive them down dramatically, especially with the next generation car. Faster production, building vehicles much quicker off the assembly lines, and they plan to deliver more vehicles. Tesla is already number one worldwide in terms of EV sales, not just here in the United States, but worldwide. They have 17% of the market share ahead of BYD, which is primarily just sold in.
How is Ford that high? Hold on. 7% worldwide. Is that right? Is that just primarily the Mach-E there? Maybe I'm missing something. That's actually a lot higher for Ford than I expected. But anyway.
In China and Asia, and it's just starting in Europe. And then you have Volkswagen. General Motors, by the way, a big chunk of those GM sales are lower cost EVs. They're number 4, not Ford, coming in at 7%. Then there's the Mexico Gigafactory. This was an announcement.
Maybe it is including hybrid. Interesting. Yeah, that would make a lot more sense. Electrified.
Last night from Elon Musk, but no details. When's it going to be built? When will it be up and running? They do plan on building the next generation vehicle there. And again, they hope to bring the cost of those vehicles down by 50%. In terms of demand, well, Elon Musk says he sees plenty of demand in the future.
The desire for people to own a Tesla is extremely high. The limiting factor is their ability to pay for a Tesla, not do they want a Tesla.
This is true, very much.
It's easy for people in this room to lose sight of that.
So what's the next vehicle that people will want from Tesla? Elon Musk believes it's the Cybertruck. It goes into production later this year. We'll see a few deliveries maybe before the end of the year, but more likely early next year, and then they start to ramp up production. Bottom line is this, Melissa. Everybody that you read these analyst notes, everybody said the same thing. Great grand vision. We agree with everything that they plan to do, but there are no benchmarks here. There was nothing where they said we plan to hit X number of vehicles by 2025, 2027, 2030.
By the way, if Tesla really wanted to pump the stock, if Elon really wanted and management wanted to pump the stock, they know that they could just be putting out these benchmarks of KPIs that they're going to plan to hit. And the stock would react very positively to those. And this is, if they broke it down by this percentage of this model, this is the general ASP, this is the general margin we're targeting, and this is our long-term growth here. They really could have played it, but they didn't. And that kind of tells me that they're really trying to be flexible and nimble here with how they get to their goal here.
Or this is what the cost will do. They gave a big, broad, hitting 20 million annual deliveries, but they didn't put a date on it. So these are the kind of things that I think that the public, the investors, the retail investors, I think that's what they were hoping for.
Yeah, they're also hoping for a cheaper car, and we only got sort of a tease for it. When we're ready to do that, we'll probably have some sort of a product event.
Which is kind of what my expectation was. Remember, they said Gen 3 platform, not Gen 3 unveiling.
Time in the future, at some time not disclosed right now.
Phil's happy about this debate.
And Melissa, most believe that you're not going to see that vehicle before the end of 25 at the earliest.
Yeah.
I mean,
end of 25. So 2023. So what? So let's say 6. Actually, wow, we're already 3 months. So 9, 12. So I think that's too far out. Tom Zhu has put in that or set to that person to Matthew in that thread 18 to 24 months. So a little bit earlier than that.
If you haven't even announced it yet, I mean, a year and a half would be ridiculously fast to get it towards the beginning of 25.
But here's the difference, right? GM announces every month that they're making a new model, but doesn't mean that that's coming out for like 6 more years. And even when it does, they're making 1,000 of these guys before they start getting recalled on, through the pouch fires. Like, this is just nuts. Like, who cares? The point is, when they do announce it, they actually deliver on it, which is why I go back to the Cybertruck as being so key here, because it's a whole new subsection of the market, and it's a whole new platform altogether. And to Tesla to come out, same thing with the Semi, to come out and show thought into reality, I think is super important.
You're looking probably late 25, 26 at the earliest.
All right, Phil, thanks. Phil LeBeau.
You bet.
I thought was also interesting at this particular Investor Day presentation was that Elon Musk made it a point to be seated next to more than a dozen executives that we probably have never seen before, many of them, or heard of before, to get to the point that I may be running Twitter, I may be running SpaceX, but we've got a deep bench here. So this was a show. I mean, this was a show to address a lot of investor concerns.
Which is, I think, a good thing, right? And again, just for clarification, I thought you had to sell Tesla into earnings a month and a half or so ago. Stock was 155. That was incorrect. But it did trade to levels then subsequently we thought it could go to, about 220, 225, which line up with the moving averages. Now what? Well, it wasn't a particularly good day, obviously. Traded a lot of volume, did not bounce with the broader market. And oh, by the way, they said they're going to need an additional $150 billion of capital at some point. I mean, that reeks of secondary to me. I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay, throw your comment about that in the chat. The amount of free capital or the amount of the Capex needed here, because we know Tesla's going to be massively free cash flow positive, but he seems to be jumping to the conclusion that Tesla's going to be announcing another. Like, how can Tesla be announcing another capital raise when they're right in the conversation of announcing a buyback? So
factories that are way down the line. We just made a whole point about how this is so off in the future and that there's no time frame. So $150 billion at some later point in time doesn't scream secondary.
Well, $150, $150 billion, 10 years, $15 billion a year. does anyone know how much free cash flow Tesla's going to print in a couple of years? So
yeah, but I mean, it's out there. So where's the level? I think 165 to me is the level. If you were looking to get long, that's where you get long. If you look,
I just don't see how he connected the $128 billion in Capex needed to $165 on Tesla stock. I just don't see that connection that he made there.
looking to reload, that's where you reload.
Yeah, and for clarification, after earnings, I started shorting it when it was 165 on that gap, and it was a kind of a painful position. We've talked about it a little bit, and you know, I've worked out of it and actually have a gain in the thing. I took a lot of it off today, but I still think the stock's going lower for two main reasons, because I look at
Recorded yesterday, 190. Currently, Tesla is sitting, as you can see on the bottom left of your screen, under 97.
Google Trends. You know, he talks about the desire to own, you know, Teslas. You know what? Tesla Cybertruck, just go to Google Trends, people. It's very near, you know, 52-week lows as far as interest in that sort of thing. I don't really buy that. And I think the lack of...
So Cybertruck, Google Trends, there's a lot happening here, folks, in this video. Cybertruck Google Trends is at an all-time low. Therefore, everyone that has pre-ordered in the last 2.5 years is canceling their orders. Is that what the implication here is? I mean, like, it's not coming out yet, so I'm not really sure why. Of course, Cybertruck, when it's going to come out, they have enough pre-orders to fill supply for a long, long time. Thank you, Per Johan, for your super chat. Sometimes I think people should not be allowed to own Tesla stock unless understanding Tesla. There should be a test. I mean, that's the beauty of the free market. Anyone can do whatever they want, right?
kind of clarity about what the roadmap is for some of the products, the here and now. And when you think about tagging an extra $125 billion in expenses over whatever that time period is to build out to get to that.
I'm going to be a pedant here. I'm sorry. Not expenses. Capex. Capital expenditure. It's an investment. It's not an expense. Sorry for being a little bit of a pedant there.
20 million car vision. Let's be clear right now. The largest car maker on the planet sells less than half of that a year. OK, so that is a really ambitious thing with nothing tied to it. The last thing I'll say, I said it last night, right now, gross margins this year, this was a margin story for the last couple years, okay? They're expected to go from 25 to 22% this year on flat to probably down earnings on 25% sales growth. So they're gonna be spending a lot. And if there is a recession, we spent a lot of time talking about it, if there is any issues with China, this company's gonna have a hard time.
If there's any issues with China, let me just rerun that. Hold on.
We spent a lot of time talking about it. If there is any issues with China, this company's gonna have a hard time.
BYD enters the chat. Apple enters the chat, although they're diversifying now. Tesla just announced a new Gigafactory. Austin and Berlin are coming online, or ramping up. Okay, it seems like the China story. I get it. Look, I'm on team. Yes, there absolutely has to be discussion about how to operate in China and reduce risk for Tesla, but it's not a uniquely Tesla story. I mean, you could say it's a uniquely Elon story at some points because of Starlink, and I still think that's going to be a problem longer term. But it's really not a Tesla-specific story. It's an American company operating in China story, right? Seems like there's a lot of negativity here on CNBC. I'm not, I'm not surprised, I guess. But look, I am very surprised. I will say I'm not shocked, but I am caught off guard with how well the stock has pretty much held up post investor day. I expected to sell off, and yesterday made a little bit of sense, but we've pretty much reclaimed that for the most part and sitting here kind of flattish from investor day, 200-ish bucks. I mean, can't really complain, to be quite honest. So throw in the chat, did you guys expect stock to be down, up, or flat from post investor day? I was definitely on the downside. But Tesla's holding up really quite well here, and moving into next week, it seems like the options overflow is picking up as well. So I guess we'll see where that lands in the next 5 minutes here. Tony, sorry, I think you hopped off here. Feel free to hop back on, Tony, if you want to give your comment here. Pinned link in the chat. Down, flat to down. Yeah. So generally speaking, it seems like the expectation was pretty much kind of to be like that. And it feels, yeah, very strong. Hanif says, Giga Canada next day. Well, it seems like the Quebec, Ontario rumors have come down a little bit, unfortunately, but we'll see. Let's get to Tony here. And again, invite to anyone that wants to join the conversation. We got 5 minutes left to close 198 sitting on Tesla. Let's get our friend Tony's comments here. How's it going, my man?
Doing good. Beautiful Friday here in Southern California. So jealous. My comment's actually something that I've been thinking about. I feel like I planted the seed of this last time I was on one of your streams, but it's advertising, like Tesla selling advertising through their cars, which like at first it was, as we see more and more level 2 chargers and just more public charging in general, like using that as a way to push, like I think about it, if I had a business or if I had a restaurant that was near a charging station, how much would it be worth it to me where every time someone in a Tesla clicks on that charging station, the first thing that shows up for them to go to a place to eat is like my restaurant? And is there value in that can be like pulled out like further down the line? And it also has me thinking, because it's along this sort of track of like, we always hear people say like, oh, Tesla is a smartphone on wheels. Well, if it is a smartphone on wheels, what apps, what sorts of commerce that you do on your smartphone is actually better to do in your Tesla, or like, versions of it in a Tesla works better. And the best example I could think of, I'm curious what you could think of, is like DoorDash, because, DoorDash probably, especially if you're just going to like Pickup or Grubhub, these sort of equivalents, if you're going to pick up food, it's probably got better telematics on your ETA, how you're getting there, all that other stuff that your phone does, because it's your car, it's how you're driving. And it also interacts with charging and with other stuff. And further down the line, if you talk about like chargers that are, say, level 2 chargers owned by restaurants or like commercial buildings in the future, that could be another way for them to like get value out of that, is they could package selling their stuff through the through the charging app. I'm not sure if you've thought of this or if anyone else has thought of this. I mean, it's probably kind of minor in the long run, but there's a creative value there, compared to how much effort it needs to program that. I mean, it's all software stuff. So it's like a couple of I mean, well, I don't know if a couple, but it's like a programming team and all the infrastructure is already there. It's all piggybacking off of stuff that the company's already doing.
Yeah, man, I love that you brought this up, and I think I'm probably gonna clip this video later, because I love the idea of Tesla monetizing, of course, through the App Store, but to bring smart commerce to cars, with whether it's DoorDash or whether it's the ability to to monetize their cars, right? There was this carpooling app back in the day where you could like carpool with people if you are at the same journey of work, and it's kind of like couch surfing in a way, except it's like car surfing. There's so many things that open up with monetization with Teslas. And that a bit, and I see people in the comments are saying, look, I don't want to be advertised to while I'm driving. Well, guess what? You can pay the $15 per month for your data. That's fine. If you want a freemium version, you're going to get served ads on your map the same way you do on Google Maps. And I really, really like that idea, because I think you're able to do so much there. Google makes a lot of money I run ads off of Google Maps for businesses. I have a lot of experience doing it, and they work really well. If you can present someone with a restaurant suggestion at the time that they're looking for something and they're open to it, that is worth something to that business. And same thing for a plumber, same thing if you're driving over to a friend's house and you need to charge somewhere. There's so many opportunities here for Tesla to monetize moving forward.
And then the sort of general broad spectrum one, which is interesting, but it could pass like a red line in terms of just seeming kind of trashy, is what if you just told everyone who has a Tesla, oh, we'll take like $5 a month off of your payment in exchange for just putting an ad in the lower right corner, but that might be like impeding on what people perceive as like sacred ground in terms of like, people protesting like your ads are getting into too many places, but that's also a possibility.
Yeah, and in the comments I'm reading, all people don't want invasive advertising. People are saying, if I'm not gonna want that on my car. Don't want to push it. I think there's something that has to be with like a negative. It has to be almost like a negative incentive. People have to be like, people would have to opt into this to save money. Maybe it's like a $20 credit they get off of their Tesla insurance. Maybe it's $20 off of their premium connectivity. Like they had to have to get some sort of like free supercharging miles. Maybe it'd have to be something that incentivizes them to opt into getting these ads, because I know for a fact that there are a lot of people that don't like ads, but I also know that it's also a polarizing thing where people, when like money talks at the end of the day, if people want to save $20 a month, they probably don't care. Like there's going to be a subsection of people that are like, I don't care. If it doesn't affect my driving and it doesn't affect the general use of the car, I'm totally open to getting ads. That might be actually a really good a poll question for us to run, but it seems like it's really split here with what that could be.
The commerce side is definitely interesting. Like just being able to order your food directly through your car, like, and it already knows you're going to get there in 40 minutes or whatever, and it's all kind of time gated. Like it's the DoorDash or Grubhub in the car. That's still the clearest case of this is probably better in the car than on the phone, at least if you're driving.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's so many apps like that are better on the phone. Or better in the car than will be on the phone. Like that's like, you know, if I'm on Bluetooth, it's already an issue for me. I have to put my phone down, put it in the charger, then I have to unlock it because it gets locked. Then my Face ID doesn't work because it's the way that the car holds the phone doesn't see my face when I'm driving. Then I have to put my pass. Like it sounds like obviously these are first world problems, but there's a way for us to connect this to a way that it can actually work pretty cohesively. And if Tesla gets a 20%, I mean, here's another thing that I'm just thinking about. Elon hates Apple for taking a 30% cut of everything, right? And Apple makes a lot of money from doing it. So what's Elon's appetite really going to be for including including monetization like this within the car? Actually, probably not that high now that I think about it even.
Well, that's sort of the next question after this is like how high on the priority list of things to do is something like this? I mean, it's probably pretty low, but then on the flip side, like you're engaging an expertise, or you can make the argument that you'd be using a skill set and expertise that isn't like taxed elsewhere, I guess, because it's like you can finding engineers to work on motors, batteries, all that sort of stuff. Like Tesla's tapped that out pretty well. Finding engineers who make apps and stuff, there's probably still quite a few of them out there that Tesla could find. So it's not as gated as some of these other things. Because like we could talk till we're blue in the face, and a lot of like Tesla discourse is like, oh, are they going to make this heat pump? Are they going to make like a plane, a boat, whatever? It's like, well, the limiting factor is engineering talent. Like how many more engineers can they find to work on that? Whereas something like this, like finding more ways to monetize software in the car, it's not as taxed.
Agreed. Totally. Awesome. Appreciate the insights, man. Thanks for coming on. Drive safe. Take care. Shout out to Tony. Great convo. Like this advertising convo, you guys know I love it. And by the way, Tesla just closed. And our winner is the Chrysler coming in at $197.77. Tesla closing at $197.79. Price is Right rules. That's our winner for the day. Congrats, my friend, on that. This advertising conversation is so incredibly deep to me because I think this is the way you really differentiate from a gas car to an electric car moving forward. And you're essentially printing money out of nowhere. That's really what we're talking about here. And I know there's a lot of people that are going to hate the ads idea, and I guess it makes sense, but there's going to have to be some sort of negative incentive, some incentive to really save money to do this. And shout out to William. Thank you for the $8 super chat, my friend. Would be nice to have Sandy Monroe and Corey on the investment stage to give their opinions. Would help to highlight engineering perspective. They had a great panel. Farzad ran an awesome panel in Austin at the Clive Bar. I caught some of it live, and it seems like Sandy was having a great time. Here's the thing I'll say is you talk about shorter term moves in the stock. They're really stochastic. It's hard to really paint any sort of fundamental analysis to short term movement of stock. But from what I saw some videos and people posted it on our Discord as well, Sandy Monroe definitely had an awesome time at the event. He was sharing some stuff that apparently he wasn't allowed to share. Paul says, Investor Day was, and did you remember here, Investor Day was objectively a failure. Investors have voted with the dollars. Tesla is now worth less than what it was before. I mean, I think barely so, even if that's the case. What was it prior to Investor Day? And maybe there's sarcasm there, Paul, that I'm not reading. But I think it was like 202 maybe closing before Investor Day, something like that. Yes, don't worry. Tony was a passenger. Indeed. Yes, he was. So he was going nuts. Thank you, William. Very nice. This channel and Farzad's are my new favorite channels. I appreciate that, William. Thank you. Hit subscribe if you're new here, folks. If this is your first time joining us, Maybe it is. Let me know if it is. A lot of familiar faces here in the chat, so I wonder how many people are new here. And if you want to join our discourse on Discord, feel free to join Patreon or YouTube membership. That gets you into Discord at $5 a month or more, and that helps support the channel as well. $197.79. It's official closing price on Tesla. Nothing really changed with options order flow on Tesla, in case anyone's wondering. Market net flow actually flipped bearish, heading right into close, like a minute into close. Not very bearish, but for all intents and purposes, effectively bearish. So we'll take that into consideration heading into next week. Investors or traders? How about invaders, like we say on this channel a lot? I had a little brain fart there for a second. Awesome. Well, much love everyone for tuning in for another Friday successful live stream. As you guys know, moving on, it's for Fridays, last 2.5, 2-ish years, Friday Power Hour streams. We're going to be changing the time. It'll be more ad hoc. I wish once I get into a general routine, it'll be more consistent. But for now, I'm thinking it'll be on the weekend sometime, if not after hours, Pacific Coast time on the work days if there's news that comes out. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell. It's the only real way that I can push that out, other than Twitter and Discord as well. And much love for tuning in. Thank you for all the support. Next week, I want to say there's not really much happening next week in terms of Tesla news yet, which probably means there'll be a lot of stuff happening. I did want to mention in passing as well, Tesla China numbers. I forgot to say that, and I'll be reminded me in the chat here. I put it into the title. Tesla China numbers came out for February, and they're really strong. Like, they were up 34% year over year. One thing to take into consideration as well is Chinese New Year was this February, Chinese New Year was in February 2023, but 2022 it was end of January, trickling into February. So they could actually have been a little bit stronger had not Chinese New Year fallen into February this year, February 1st, I think it was. So awesome. Have an awesome weekend. Like I say every weekend, and I guess I can't really say this anymore. Maybe give me a sarcastic remark. All love, by the way. I'm just poking fun. Last week when I said put your phones away, and then I said, oh, I might be going live on the weekend. But how about this? Dedicate some time. Like I say every Friday stream, dedicate some time. Put away your tech for a little bit. Go for a walk. Go to the gym. Prioritize whatever you need mentally, physically, to do whatever you need to do to be in tip-top shape. Have an awesome weekend. Go for a walk. Like I say, if it's hard for you to go to the gym or whatever, long walks are always good. And go see family. Go do a podcast. I don't know. Go do whatever whatever you really need to do to recharge and recoup heading into next week. Much love. Good luck to your Canucks. Adam says you're going to need it. Thank you, but I am officially on Team Tank. I don't need any luck for the Canucks. I want them to lose every single game this season so we can get the homegrown talent, Connor Bedard, coming in. All right, guys. Much love. Take care. Yeshu signing off. Thanks for all the support. I will catch you in the next stream and on Twitter and on Discord if you want to join our private community. Link for that is patreon.com/hitthatbid, or hit the join button on the YouTube right where subscribe is written. All right, guys. Much love. Yeshu signing off. Take care. Peace.